Hey guys, I'm Sonia and I'm here today to do the new to Booktube tag and my January TBR, which is one of the questions. So this tag was started by TRINA from Between Chapters. I'll link So that's where majority of my videos are going to be throughout the year, except for during the winter break and summer break and whatnot. I am 19 right now. I turned 20 in May. Well, see, why did I join Booktube? I was in this like really long, I'd say it was 5-6 months of a book reading slump, but it started senior year of high school and it ended like October. It was around 2 years worth of not having any kind of drive to read, and so I decided that I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Well, I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel anyways, and I decided, well, why not kill two birds with one stone and start my YouTube channel about books so that I actually have some kind of motivation to read books. It's my name, my first name, and an abbreviation of my last name. My first grade teacher back in India called me Walu Walu because she couldn't pronounce my full last name, which is Walla Walker. And yeah, even Indian people can't pronounce my last name. And she was my first favorite teacher ever, and I remember her, and she was actually my kind of a neighbor. She lived in the same colony that we were in, and so yeah, well, her daughter was the one that started calling me Walu Walu, but she started calling me Walu in class, so it stuck. Yeah, it just stuck, and I decided, well, if I'm gonna make a brand out of myself, why not? It'd be the one thing that I have liked for over, how old was I in first grade? 13 years of my life. I tend to read more fantasy books. I was really into dystopias, and specifically dystopia trilogies, but that kind of got old, and now I'm trying to venture back into fantasy, classics, mystery, and something written by a South Asian author or has a South Asian protagonist. Middle Eastern too. I'd like to talk more about that, bring more attention to South Asian novels, and so I'm going to try and have at least one in every TBR or monthly book review that I have. My favorite author of all time is the same author that most everyone will say is their favorite author that is from my generation, and that is J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling. Because she's just you can't argue with the Harry Potter series. You just can't. And if you do, I am sorry that you have been told this very wrong fact, and I will try to help you see the light. I would like to give a special, very great shout out to Sarah J. Maas. Throne of Glass series was what finally brought me out of my reading slump. Thank you very much for saving me from the terror that I was plagued by for 2 years. You are the greatest. Last book I read was this book, 6 of Crows, and I have annotated it for the specific purpose of having a book talk. Yeah, I can't seem to remember facts because I read these books in like a day, day and a half, 2 days, and so I've annotated it so that I remember and can find what I thought when I read it. So keep a lookout for Six of Crows soon. The Fellowship of the Ring, and I started Fellowship of the Ring around March of 2015, and I haven't even gotten to Bree yet. Like, they're still on the way. They just got to the forest. They haven't gotten to Bree. They haven't met Aragorn, and it's kind of slow. But I'm gonna power through these because if you can see that entire section over there, that is all Lord of the Rings related books. It is all the history of Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, the Book of Lost Tales, and like everything, and I want to read all of them, and I'm going to do it this year. Bookmarks range from me trying to remember the page to the closest scrap of paper that I can find, and finally this thing. This beautiful little thing. I also have this bookmark that's just been in the Lord of the Rings book, in Fellowship of the Rings, since I started reading it, and that's what I guess I'm using for this, but this is the one I've been using for the last 6 books I've read, and basically, you just like, flip it over a couple pages, slide it in, and like, just leave it there. It holds your pages, it's beautiful. As long as it's holding onto a couple of pages, it doesn't fall out. Otherwise, the head is so heavy, if you hold it like this, it'll just fall out. But right now, it's clipped onto a couple of pages, so there's grip, and it stays. And it's pretty. But if you drop it, things will fall, like this little bead right here. Honestly, if the covers are the same, then I prefer buying paperback because it's cheaper, but if I'll buy the prettier cover. Physical copy just because I like sniffing books. Like, I love the scent of old books, and I love the scent of freshly printed books. It is heaven. I even sniff my exam papers. If they're new. Freshly printed, yeah. Again, now I'm trying to expand this library. This is just one shelf and like one bookshelf, and I've got 2 shelves dedicated to things that are not novels that I've read, and I need to expand. So right now I want to buy as many books as I can, but if someone has a book that I want to read and I can't buy it at that point in time, I will borrow it. If the library has the book at immediate notice, I will borrow it. Back in the 3rd grade, I recall the first ever book that I read was like that I remember properly reading was like this book. I don't even remember the title. It was something along the lines of Mermaids Can't Walk on Land or something. And it was always absurd titles like Werewolves Can't Play Campfire Songs, or some weird mystery series about camping, summer camp. That's what got me into reading. Yeah, back in India, in my private school, we always had a mandatory library period twice a week, and once a week we were able to check out. And Nancy Drew, these hardcover books specifically were what I always consistently borrowed every week, and I started reading them so fast. It would take me a day. It's like 250 pages max, and I'd fly. There's like 65 of them now, and they always had a list. This one just seems to have the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Roald Dahl, and Sherlock. They're Sherlock books. I discovered Booktube while I was, one of my friends told me about the Mortal Instruments series, and I got hooked onto that, and then I followed Cassandra Clare on Tumblr. Well, she reblogged a book review of the which one was it? One of the Mortal Instruments or Infernal Devices books, and that was to Poland Bananas books. And Christine's book review was like fantastic, and I loved it. And this summer, when I was like, I need to get back into reading, maybe Booktube will help me, I found like 30 more Booktubers, and I just subscribed. And now all I do is watch Booktube videos and YouTube videos. I have no life. Definitely the biggest challenge is going to be punctuality with uploading and finding time to record videos, because I know I will always find time to read a book now that I'm in the momentum, but the biggest challenge is going to be the uploading schedule with this, then maybe a little bit of getting comfortable with talking to the black hole of the camera lens, and then finally financing my bookly expenses. On to my January TBR, which I'm hoping to finish by the 17th so that I can buy more books on campus. I don't want to lug these back and forth. So first book on my January TBR is Agatha Christie. I was volunteering for Rotary Club, and they were packing books, and they were trashing like books that seemed to be yellowing, and this one was quote unquote yellowing, which is crap. It's in perfect condition, smells heavenly, so I was like, can I have it? And they gave it to me, and now I will read it because I haven't read it in over 3 years. This has just been sitting on my bookshelf for 3 years. So what it says back here is, a young bride, just 2 weeks a widow, was made the sole heir to an enormous fortune. A mysterious stranger met a brutal end, and that dapper detective, Hercule Poirot, found himself on a trail as baffling as any he had ever encountered. Mystery. I am excited. I haven't read a mystery book, specifically detective mystery, in a while. It's gonna be good to get back into this. Next book on my TBR is Palace of Illusions. I've already read it, but I just wanted to go back over it. The author's name is Chitra Banerjee. She's actually from my hometown, and Chitra Banerjee Divakaru. This is an extract from the Mahabharata, which is one of the epic tales in Hinduism. And this follows the main queen, per se, in the story, and her name is, the name I was told she was called was Draupadi, but in the book she's called Panchali, and that's fine too. These gods and goddesses tend to have like thousands of names per. Yeah, it's following her life through the epic that is the Mahabharata, and instead of the 5 brothers that is the Pandavas, the 5 Pandavas that it is typically about. So again, this is a very female, this book has a female lead, which is super exciting. It is about the faith that I grew up with, which is also exciting, and like I said, I'm going to try and include a South Asian novel in every TBR or book review that I do, and this is the first one. The next book I plan on reading is The Alchemist. This is another book that I've started that I couldn't finish during my 2-year reading slump. It is about these 2 twins who are on vacation in California, and they happen to come across the immortal Nicholas Flamel and his wife. They realize they too have magical powers, and it's this intense journey of them trying to avoid the baddies that are trying to kill him and kill Nicholas. And I don't know if it was just the fact that I was in a weird reading rut, or if the book was just not captivating, but I have heard very iffy things about the book, so I'm gonna try and finish it because I need to finish every book that I've read, and I will give you a definite update on it. Finally, the last book in my half of January TBR is The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. Rowling. How do you pronounce it? Rowling. I'm gonna go with Rowling because that's what I've been saying all my life. This is about a murder that happens in a small town in the UK and the havoc that wreaks the town afterwards. And it follows a couple of characters. Again, this was the book, I started reading it, and again, it was far too mature for my age. 4 years ago, I was still a little chickling, floundering around in this foreign land and trying to figure out where I stood. I was a little too young to pick up this book. There were a couple things that were like, ugh, oh my god, that happened. Yeah, I think I can stomach it now. I'm excited to get back into it. I know that she has A Cuckoo's Calling and the Silkworm released under the pseudonym Robert Galbraith, but I'm going to buy those after I finish this, because let's finish the books I have on my shelf, yeah? All my links are going to be down below. Goodreads, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. They'll all be linked below. Like this video if you like the video. Subscribe to my channel. Also go subscribe to Trina, because she was the one that came up with this amazing book tag and she deserves the credit. Comment down below on what you thought of my responses to the book tag and the books that I talked about in my TBR. And if you have any suggestions on what other videos I should do and how I can get better at being a booktuber. Well, that concludes my video, so I'll see you next week. Bye!